WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. So many things going on, man. It's opening day. It's opening day week. We got the Orioles national championships being played on the men's side, the women's side, upsets on the women's side, and Wizards playing against Golden State in the middle of the night on Sunday night, and the Capitals playing for that President's Trophy, for the number one seed, for an easier lay of the land in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I've got a little bit of a playoff beard rocking right now. I'm going to shave it off. I may go with a playoff goatee. I'm going to try to get creative somehow, some way. I just don't want to end up looking like John Bon Jovi when it's all over with. Ed Frankovic joins us here live via satellite from Myrtle Beach, where he is golfing and also watching the Capitals. And debacle on Friday night in Arizona led to a really interesting game, I thought, on Sunday afternoon, evening, or supper, whatever you'd want to call it, out in Columbus. The Capitals held on to win 3-2. But Ed, that was kind of a memorable little tilt between those two now, wasn't it?
Certainly gave us a nice preview for next week's playoffs. And I think the Capitals had a little chip on their shoulder. They clearly were not happy with the lack of effort they put out in the desert on Friday night. And Coach Trotz took blame from himself on down and said, that was the worst period we've played since in his tenure, that first period when they got down 3-0. So Holtby had been struggling a bit and needed a lockdown game. And I got to give him the most credit for the victory on Sunday night, 35 saves, including 2 right there, right before the buzzer, and the last one on Seth Jones from like 5 feet out. So the whole beast was back. I think that's the big news. I thought the Capitals did a better job of defending. They still have some issues with some of their defensive zone coverage that we can get in and talk about, but huge win. They came out, they jumped to that 3-0 lead in the second period with goals from Oshie and Burakovsky and Niskanen. I think that was another big key on Sunday night, was the reemergence of the third line of Andre Burakovsky, Lars Eller, and Brett Connolly. So just a huge win, a physical win. The Blue Jackets are, they played chippy. They got Coach John Tortorella, and we know all about him. So a lot to like there on the win.
Okay, well, the chippy part would be that Alex Ovechkin got involved in a brawl, right? So, while I was sitting here talking about the Blue Jays and the Orioles, Ovechkin swinging punches, and I'm thinking, what the hell are they doing? But then part of this was the fact that the Blue Jackets have never really been in these kind of contests, right? I mean, as a franchise, the building was alive. It felt very pre-playoff. It was kind of noisy. The first period had a little intensity to it that we're going to see and become a little more familiar with 2 weeks from now when the playoffs get going in earnest. These teams may see each other. The Blue Jackets are chasing to be the type of team that the Capitals are. And, the Capitals really are a marked team in all of this. They're the best team. They're the team that everybody's trying to take down. And I saw that Trotz appealed to all Caps fans everywhere with the same appeal he gave to us a couple of weeks ago at Greenmount Station, which is the past does not equal the future. But part of this was 3-0 lead, and I tweeted at that point in the game, it was 3-0 early in the second period or midway through the second period, and they looked like they were coasting after 3 quick goals. I said they're kind of like Andre the Giant in WrestleMania, They're just bigger and badder, and they're going to put their foot down. And then the Blue Jackets just willed their way back into the game, and they had to hold on for dear life at the end. But more than that, it got chippy. Bodies were being given up. This is how the injuries happen before the playoffs start, and that's the worst case scenario for the Capitals, is to have an injury to anyone key, right?
Yeah, you don't like seeing Ovechkin getting hit in the head, and he got hit in the head by Anderson of Columbus, and that's kind of why Ovi got into the fray. And at least the officials did correctly call that one and give the extra penalty to the Blue Jackets. But, that's a big reason why I have not wanted to play the Blue Jackets in the first round, because how physical they are, how chippy they are. And as Trotz told us out at Greenmount Station a couple of weeks ago, every round takes a piece out of you. And I would rather have the Pittsburgh Penguins have to go play that Columbus Blue Jackets team and let them take a piece out of the Pens. And it certainly looks that way. The Capitals have a 5-point lead as we sit on Monday morning over Pittsburgh now, and 6 over the Blue Jackets. So the Blue Jackets are pretty much, they can't catch the Capitals. I mean, they would have to win all 4, and the Capitals have to lose all 4. I just can't see that happening. The Blackhawks we talk about the President's Trophy. The Blackhawks lost on Sunday afternoon to the Bruins. They only have 3 games left, so the Capitals only need a point to really clinch over Chicago or anybody in the West. So the magic number really is 3 over Pittsburgh right now. So it's looking pretty good for a Metropolitan Division win and the President's Trophy. But I think more importantly was this game on Sunday night. The Capitals did a lot of things that they needed to do. They needed to play better defensively. They did a lot of that. There were still too many odd man rushes for my liking, especially in the second period. I think they need to work a little bit on their ability to dismantle a team's cycle game. I think they were stopped moving their feet a little bit, but the Blue Jackets had to win that game, so they threw everything at them. And the other team does get paid to play too, and they certainly gave everything they had, the Blue Jackets. And so for the Capitals to come out on top, I think is a really huge victory. And I think it's going to get that mindset back right for the Caps.
He is Ed Frankovic. He covers all things Capitals, and the Caps got a couple of games this week. They're going to go up to Montreal, come back against the Rangers, or the Rags, as you like to call them. All of this jockeying now for position. What do you think at this point? I mean, right now it would be Ottawa, right? I mean, but Toronto, Boston, it could be any combination of those teams at this point. But it's starting to get a little bit more clarified at this point. And obviously Tampa and the Islanders have really done the fade here.
Yeah, I think the Islanders are pretty much out, and John Tavares, their best player, is out 3 to 4 weeks with a hamstring issue, I believe it is. He got injured on Friday night's game, so I think they have a very slim chance. Tampa does have the best chance of anybody to jump in, but I just don't see it happening. They have to play the Leafs this week. The Leafs probably have the toughest stretch. They have 5 games in 6 nights because of a makeup game. I guess there was a game that got canceled along the way. So the Leafs are going to go 5 games in 6 nights. You could very well see the Leafs fall to 8th and see Ottawa and Boston finish 2nd, 3rd to set up a Capitals-Leafs series, which would be a media frenzy. The place would be packed and a lot of hype, but I really believe that's the best matchup for the Capitals.
Well, it would be an energetic matchup. I mean, I've talked to a few people from Toronto, obviously with the Blue Jays opening the baseball season here, everyone there. I talked to Laura Armstrong from the Toronto Star, and I said, do you keep up on the Leafs? She's like, I live in Toronto. There's no one in Toronto that doesn't know everything about the Leafs. It's just the way it is. It's like saying to somebody from Alabama, hey, what do you know about Nick Saban? Did you hear they play football down there? It really is, that sort of environment for the Capitals may be good or bad for them. It certainly would be bright, hot, white lights right away, right? Probably a lot different than going into Ottawa where there'll still be some energy there and like all that. Same thing with Boston. I mean, there'll be energy. But I think getting through that first round, as we've talked so much about, a lot of it is coming with the energy that you need to have, which was something last year that, Trotz pointed out in the first round against Philadelphia. They didn't have enough of it, quite frankly.
Yeah, they really did play well in that Flyers series, but they had a hard time closing them out. And the Flyers took pieces out of them. Brooks Orpik got a concussion, and Carl Osner injured his groin, and the Capitals won those first 3 games, but then the Flyers really clawed their way back into the series, and it easily could have gone 7 if the Flyers score on that 2-man advantage in Game 6. But Holtby was great, and the Capitals were able to close it out. Ottawa has been a tough matchup for the Capitals this year. They've played 3 times, and they were low-scoring games. I think that Boston would be very, very physical. Zdeno Chara, Brad Marchand's a little pest, but he's playing extremely well. One of the top goal scorers. His name's in the conversation for the Hart Trophy. And, Tuukka Rask is a good goalie. Now, the Capitals have had his number over the years, but I really think playing that Boston team would be a physical matchup and not an ideal one. So I keep going back to Toronto. I definitely don't want to see the Lightning creep in because Steven Stamkos is day-to-day. Could be back at any minute, and that's putting a 40-goal scorer back in your lineup. And, that's a deadline acquisition for them. So I'm really going to be focused on this Caps-Leafs game on Tuesday night. The Capitals' next game should be an interesting one, and the Leafs are playing Monday night. So the Leafs are playing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So they're going to play 5 games in 6 days. That is a lot of hockey. So I think if there's a team that's going to fall back, and then you have that Thursday night game with Tampa, I think if there's a team that could slip back down to 8th and just barely get in, I think it could be Toronto.
He is Ed Frankovic. You can follow his journey out on Twitter during the Caps games, Toronto and New York this week and later on into the weekend. And we will begin playoff action. Dude, we're a week out. We're a week and a half out. It's crazy. It's creeping right up. I mean, we've been waiting months and months and months. And, you got to like the way this thing is laid out right now, right? I mean, you can't do better than having the 1 seed and hopefully, 4 more hours of hockey and knock on wood, have a relatively 100% health going into the playoffs. You can't ask for more than that, right? This is the way you draw it up. When the Orioles won't be doing this. They won't be winning 110 games and sort of on coast, The Ravens won't be winning 14 games this year and on coast. This is as good as it gets, right? Even though we're all a little bit scarred by the 40 years of carrying the red, white, and blue ball up the hill, right?
I think it is.
Or up the ice, I should say.
I think it's really important that Trotz came out and said, look, the past is the past. I mean, everyone's like, well, we don't want to win the President's Trophy because we win the President's Trophy, we're not going to win the Cup. That was 2 times. You got a sample size of 2. Anybody's a mathematician will tell you that's like flipping a coin. It's too small of a sample size. And, you want home ice because not only are you playing at home with the fan base and the loud crowd that the Capitals have, but the big advantage is matchups. Coach Trotz can dictate the matchups in the hockey game. He can get whatever line he wants against the opponent's line 4 times out of 7 in the series, and that is a big advantage because hockey is so much about matchups and exploiting the weakness of the other team. And I think that is so key to have that home ice. I think it's also important to avoid that potential Columbus or Pittsburgh in the first round because clearly they're second or third and, they're among the top 4 teams in the league when you put Chicago in there. Those 2 teams are certainly right there, and Tortorella's style is a physical style. They like to block shots. They like to hit. Their goaltender's playing fantastic, and Pittsburgh's got 2 great goaltenders in Marc-Andre Fleury and Matt Murray. So you really don't want to play those teams. It's setting up really nice that they won't have to, and they can focus this week on still cleaning up the things they need to do. They need to prevent giving up too many odd man rushes. And Friday night in Arizona, when they got run out of the building, they gave up 11 scoring chances, 8 of them grade A chances, many on breakaways or 2-on-1s. They'll get a chance, hopefully, to maybe rest a couple guys. If they can lock this up, if they can beat Toronto on Tuesday or beat the Rangers on Wednesday, they should pretty much clinch by then. And they can, they go back to, they'll get Grubauer 2 games, Holtby 2 games this week. Hopefully they can get a Nate Schmidt and a Taylor Chorney in there and a Paul Carey in there to give some guys a little break and not have to play back-to-back. So it's setting up nice. Now we just got to let it play out this week.
Ed, we're going to rest up, man, and we're going to watch some baseball. You ready for baseball? I mean, I remember when you loved the Orioles, don't you?
Well, I still root for the sweater, and I still do, but my focus is totally on hockey right now. And, so I'll be honest with you, that's the answer is no. I'm not ready for the Orioles, especially given the lack of things they did in the off season. I love Buck Showalter. I think he's a great manager. I think Adam Jones is a great center fielder. Manny Machado at third base. But I just am not happy the way they've haven't gone out and add to a pitching staff that clearly could use some top starters. And Buck's just going to have to work his magic to try and keep them in the race. But we talk about like you said, Ravens got a lot of work to do just to contend for a playoff spot. I think the Orioles are going to really have to seriously overachieve in that division.
Well, and I think they're going to have to overpitch. And when you're asking to overpitch when the season starts, that's difficult even though they're going to hit 250 home runs, right?
Yeah, I don't know what Chris Tillman's status is, but I heard it wasn't good at least a week or so ago. So, and baseball comes down to pitching. And just like in hockey, it comes down to goaltending and defense. And I had a lot of concerns about the way the Capitals were playing on that road trip, the first part of the road trip. Yeah, they went 2-1, but they gave up 13 goals in 3 games, and 2 of those teams were 2 of the worst teams in the league. So that's why I think the Sunday night win over Columbus was very satisfying, and it was very important that they were able to lock it down in a hostile building. It was a little scary there, but they got their goaltender back playing how he has to play. The defense did a lot better job at a lot of the coverage. They still have some things to work on with these odd man rushes, but it was very encouraging on Sunday night.
All right, I'll be watching baseball and hockey and the Wizards and anything else they put on, including the NFL draft and Liars Luncheons. We got it all going on this week. Ed, rest up. Ice up, son. We are going to Toronto on Tuesday night.
Yes, Toronto Tuesday, Rangers Wednesday. Let's bring it on.
All right, man. We got plenty of hockey this week and plenty of hockey next week, and 10 days out on playoffs. Man, I'm working on a little bit of a beard. If you're watching on the Facebook Live or on the YouTube WNSTV channel, you can check that out. We're always up there for you, man. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, anywhere you are on your mobile device, and of course out in the Bahia Toyota Audio Vault, 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. You can listen live, tune in whenever you want. New baseball season, plenty of fresh content, observations as well as always live out on social, and of course Luke's at the ballpark all the time as well. Anything you miss, you get in our morning newspaper as well. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Every morning that ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. when you sign up online. And last but never least, breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That is all brought to you by our friends at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard, and Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday driving you home as he does every week from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. Our London trip is up. It's running. We have a $100 off deal for anybody who's been on one of our WNST trips since 1995. And if you have been, you get a $100 off discount this year for all of our trips. So 18,000 of you have been on our WNST road trips. 18,000 of you. And they said no one listens. That's what Jane Goldstrom tells people. Seriously. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.